In 1945, there was a man who played a role in saving millions of lives by defeating a secret machine. Yet only a few years later, that same man was declared a criminal by his own government. Why? This is the story of Alan Turing, the mind that played a central role in breaking Nazi Germany's Enigma code during the Second World War. But as soon as the war ended, he was quietly pushed to the margins of history. If he was a hero, then why was he punished? What did the British government do to this man that today many historians consider it not just a personal tragedy, but an attempt at institutional silence and the suppression of history? Was this merely a legal case, or was there a secret behind it that remained hidden from the public for decades? In today's video, we will investigate this question. Was the father of the world's artificial intelligence silenced because he knew too much? The story begins in the late 1930s, when Europe was standing on the brink of a new world war. By that time, Alan Turing had already proven his extraordinary abilities in mathematics and logic at Cambridge University. His 1936 research paper on computable numbers had already become the foundation of the entire theoretical structure of modern computing. But soon, his life was about to become connected with a secret mission whose very existence was hidden from the public at the time. In 1939, as soon as the Second World War began, Britain established a secret code-breaking center, Bletchley Park. This was the place where thousands of mathematicians, linguists, and intelligence analysts were trying to understand Nazi Germany's communication system. The most important target of this team was the German military's famous secret device, the Enigma machine, which at the time was considered almost impossible to defeat. Germany believed that because Enigma's codes changed daily, no enemy would ever be able to read them. If this code had not been broken, German submarines in the Atlantic Ocean could have completely destroyed British supply lines. This would not have meant only military defeat, but possibly Britain's economic collapse as well. In other words, not just a single war, but the future of all of Europe was at stake. This is where Alan Turing's real role begins. He played a central role in the design of an electromechanical machine called the bomb, which made it possible to rapidly understand Enigma's complex patterns. Later, British intelligence documents, especially declassified records from GCHQ, confirmed that breaking the Enigma code provided Allied forces with crucial information about German military movements, which significantly influenced the outcome of the war. But here is an important fact that was deliberately hidden at the time. Even after the war, the British government kept the work of Bletchley Park secret for decades. Even Turing himself was not allowed to speak publicly about his achievements. If his services were so important, then why were they kept secret? Meanwhile, the war ended, the world changed, but Alan Turing's life was about to turn in a direction where state power and personal freedom would come face to face. By 1945, the war had ended. The Allied powers were celebrating victory. Alan Turing, too, should apparently have been recognized as a national hero, but the reality was entirely different. That same year, the British government quietly awarded him the Order of the British Empire, the OBE. Even this honor was of a secret nature. Not a single word about his real contributions was spoken publicly. Why was a man who had changed the course of the war not openly declared a national hero? This question still troubles the mind today. After the war, Alan Turing began working at Manchester University on one of the world's earliest computers, the Manchester Mark I. In 1950, his famous paper, Computing Machinery and Intelligence, was published. In it, he raised a question that still amazes us today. Can machines think? This was the very idea that we now know as the Alan Turing Test, the concept that laid the foundation of artificial intelligence and is now driving the entire digital world. But at this very moment of achievement, an incident occurred that changed everything. In 1952, a minor theft report was filed in Manchester. There had been a burglary at Alan Turing's home. When the police came to investigate, some unknown aspects of his personal life were revealed. The result? He was arrested on charges of gross indecency. a law that at that time declared homosexuality a crime in Britain. Was this merely a legal case, or was something else happening behind the scenes? The court gave him two choices: prison or hormonal treatment. He accepted government treatment instead of imprisonment. Later, this came to be known as chemical castration. This treatment inflicted such wounds on his body and mind that it is difficult even to imagine. But the surprising thing is that immediately after this decision, he was removed from all sensitive national security projects. His access to GCHQ projects was terminated. A man who had broken the enemy's strongest codes, how did he suddenly become a security risk for his own government? In 1954, at the age of only 41, Alan Turing was found dead in his home. According to official records, the cause of death was cyanide poisoning, and it was declared a suicide. But does the story really end here? Or is the real secret still remaining? Was this only a personal tragedy, or a silent institutional decision? Official history states that Alan Turing's punishment was given only in accordance with the British law of that time. In 1952, homosexuality was a crime in Britain. That's all. But when we examine internal documents, later research that came to light, and the entire pattern of state behavior, a completely different and surprising picture begins to emerge. A picture that appears not merely as a personal tragedy, but as a story of institutional silence. First, an important fact that remained hidden for decades. After the war, for nearly 30 years, the entire code-breaking mission at Bletchley Park was kept completely secret. Not even a single word about Alan Turing's actual contributions was revealed to the public. Declassified records from GCHQ now show that information about the breaking of the Enigma code continued to be considered highly sensitive even during the Cold War. This raises a question. Did this very sensitivity suddenly make Alan Turing a risk? Did he know too much? Now, three major theories emerge about this entire incident, each more startling than the other. The first theory is called the scientific and institutional explanation. According to this view, the British government punished Alan Turing only in accordance with the law of that time. After the beginning of the Cold War, especially after 1947, anyone possessing sensitive information began to be considered at risk of blackmail. In both American and British intelligence agencies, revoking security clearance became a common policy. Therefore, it is possible that he was removed from sensitive projects from the perspective of national security. But there is also an objection. If this was the only reason, then why was he completely sidelined? Why was he not given any alternative scientific role? The second theory is called the theory of state silence and the dispute over credit. Some historians, particularly researchers of Cold War intelligence, believe that in order to prevent the success of Enigma from becoming public knowledge, the government deliberately kept all individuals associated with Bletchley Park in the background. If Alan Turing had been presented as a national hero, the entire secret system might have been exposed. For this reason, his scientific identity was kept limited, and he was never allowed to become a public hero. But even this explanation leaves a major question unanswered. Where does the full justification for the severity of his punishment come from? And the third theory is the most controversial, yet the most startling. The hidden security risk theory. Some alternative investigative narratives suggest that during the early Cold War period, scientists connected with secret coding, computing, or signal intelligence were kept under state surveillance. Since Alan Turing was working on early computer intelligence and coding systems, some historians believe he may have been considered a potential security risk. Direct evidence in support of this theory has not been found, but there is evidence that his security clearance was immediately revoked and his access to sensitive projects was blocked. This is the point where a deep gap emerges between official history and hidden reality, a gap that still raises questions today. Was Alan Turing silenced simply because he had moved too far ahead? Did he know so much that state power could not tolerate him? If we look at the short-term effects, everything suddenly becomes clear. In the 1950s, under the pressure of the Cold War, the British state made surveillance of sensitive scientists extremely strict. Alan Turing's case became one of the most prominent examples of this policy. A man who until yesterday was saving millions of lives by breaking enemy codes suddenly became a risk in the eyes of his own government. He was immediately removed from all classified projects. His full potential could not be utilized in an important computer project like the Manchester Mark I. Britain's early computing research lost a possible momentum, as if someone had deliberately applied the brakes. Socially as well, this case became a powerful message. In British society of that time, the idea took deep root that state laws maintained strict control even over personal life, no matter if the person was a national hero. This message of silencing a hero reached thousands of people. If anyone moved too far ahead, they could be stopped. Now, if we look at the long-term effects, the picture becomes even more surprising. The early ideas of computing and artificial intelligence that Alan Turing had presented were rapidly adopted by the United States and other countries. But in Britain, this momentum slowed down. The balance of power shifted, as if a great nation had crushed its own greatest mind. Historical narrative was also deeply affected. Until around the 1970s, Alan Turing's name remained almost absent from public history. His true importance came to light only when declassified records were opened. At first, people could hardly believe that a single individual had done so much. Future developments are also connected to this tragedy. In 2009, the British government officially issued an apology.
The attitude he is owed makes it all the more horrifying, therefore, that he was treated so inhumanely. So on behalf of the British government and all those who live freely thanks to Alan's work, I'm very proud to say we're sorry. You deserved so much better.
And in 2013, he was granted a posthumous royal pardon. This was an acknowledgement that injustice had taken place at the state level. But granting a pardon cannot bring back the mind that was lost. And when we look at it from today's perspective, the reality touches the heart. Today, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and the entire digital world stand upon the same theoretical framework that Alan Turing presented in 1950. Yet the question still echoes in the mind. If he had received full freedom and support at that time, would today's world of AI have been even different? Even more powerful? Perhaps the real question is this: did we obtain our modern digital world at the cost of a mind that was silenced by its own state? If you believe that more hidden aspects of history like this should come to light, then be sure to share your opinion in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon, because in the next video, we will reveal another hidden historical reality that remained ignored for decades.